Hello? Is microphone? Microphone work?
Yes.
1, 2, 3. Hello? What's your name?
Israel. Izzy.
Izzy.
Gutierrez.
Izzy Gutierrez?
Yes.
Gutierrez. Izzy Gutierrez. My name
And
Akbar.
you are? Oh, okay.
Akbar Domestique. I wear now?
Yes, put those on. You'll hear some people in your ears.
Okay.
And you're talking to the microphone.
Hello?
Akbar, it's okay. You don't have to talk to them. I'm going to talk to you.
Okay. I look you or camera?
You can look anywhere you want.
Okay, I look camera.
Okay. Welcome to Oddball.
Oh.
Sorry, Amin. I know we're in the same place, so we don't know who's going to be in charge, but welcome to Oddball. Man, this is a huge game in Miami yesterday.
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler's comeback game. And my buddy Akbar and I, you might have just seen him at the top of the show. We went over to the arena and we talked to fans because we wanted to show them renderings of a statue, of Jimmy Butler's statue.
That's right.
May or may not go up in front of the Kaseya Center eventually.
One day,
probably. Yeah. We have the photos we want to show you that Akbar was kind of going through with everyone, with the fans.
I watched. He had a different name. This one I think is called Jimmy Butler Tired.
Jimmy Butler Tired.
That one. And then let's see the next one we had.
Next one.
This one was called Jimmy Butler over Tobias Harris. He explained it because originally Tobias Harris over me, so we put Jimmy over Tobias Harris. This one was called Stats No, Wins Yes, Winner.
Yes, that one was underrated, even though he was a Chicago Bull, is one of his most famous memes. That one we all know was called...
I believe, I don't know if I could say this on air. I'll clean it up. It was F to you, Al Horford.
Yes, F to you, Al Horford, with a very strong accent. And this one he called...
Culture. He called this one Culture.
Yes, there's a little bit of everything. You've got emo, you've got Dwayne Wade's face, and apparently spinning a basketball is Culture. But something funny happened.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, look, no one could have anticipated this, right? You went out there with Akbar trying to get fans to come talk, and we thought that there were going to be people who were going to be adamant, absolutely not. But most people were okay with the idea of a statue.
Yeah.
And then we were approached by a real life journalist, someone who's not doing a show on DraftKings Network, but just honest to God, came by, saw the table, saw the sign, and he said he wanted to talk to Akbar. So
we got some footage. Let's watch it.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Adam from
Adam.
Sentinel.
Hey, how you doing?
How are you?
You're good.
Do a quick interview with me about the statue committee?
Yes, why not?
Why did you decide to come out and set up a stand for Jimmy Butler statue?
Jimmy Butler, great. He win very much.
You think he deserves a statue after all the controversy with the team and everything?
5 years, 6 years, win. No stats. 30 points. No, win.
Right, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Nice to meet you.
I don't know. I'm sorry. So it was so weird because Adam, the reporter there, was asking you questions, and I'm like, he's got to know. Like, he's got to know that that's Amin.
Well, how do we know he wasn't just playing around with us, is he?
Well, because he wrote an article.
Oh, no.
He wrote an article about Akbar Domestique and the committee to create a Jimmy Butler statue.
You guys photoshopped this. This isn't real, is it?
It's absolutely real.
It's the second most read story.
Before it got taken down. Because he realized today, after we spoke about it on another show, that it wasn't real. And he admitted that he got. And Akbar is an absolute revelation.
Look, man, the funniest part, look, I'm not going to blame Adam. Adam doesn't know me from a nail in the wall. There are
You're about to say Adam doesn't know me from Adam.
Yeah, there you go. There are real life NBA media people who I know very well, who I walked past and had no idea. I'll name some names.
Go for it.
Vincent Goodwill, right?
That's a good friend of yours.
Taylor Rooks.
Wow.
I went to Taylor. I talked to Taylor. I said, do you know me? I said it.
In accent.
And she said, no. And she did a double take, and I said, "You will know me," and I walked away. Dude, it was funny. It's funny, and the craziest thing is, I thought more people in the arena would like, "What's up with this dude?" And so many people. I was talking about people working and stuff. Nobody batted an eye. And Adam, as it would turn out, when he found out this whole thing was put on, he said, "There are a lot of strange people in Miami." So like,
he thought you were just somebody that had a mustache on top of a mustache.
There
and it's
it
no
is.
big deal because you could see it coming up. But you're going to hear more from Akbar Domestique, right?
Tomorrow.
We'll
have the full segment for you guys. You'll love to see that. But in the meantime, Jimmy Butler came back.
That's why we were there.
Yeah, it's the first time since the trade, and it didn't quite go as emphatically as everyone thought. TNT was there. We were there. We thought it was going to be this crazy game, and instead the Heat dominated the Warriors, who played without Steph, 112-86. Jimmy had a quiet night, only 11 points and 6 rebounds, didn't shoot great, 5 for 12, only 1 free throw trip, Izzy. And he only said hello to one teammate pregame, and it was Kevin Love. Yeah. When Taylor Rooks asked him what he'd say to Pat Riley, Jimmy said, quote, "I have nothing to say to Pat, and Pat better have nothing to say to me."
I want you to imagine a world where Pat Riley is sitting in that seat in the deep corner of the arena.
On the baseline, behind the basket. Yep.
Where he stands up and starts yelling at Jimmy Butler from that was never going to happen. Like, what it was, did Jimmy think that Pat was going to come up to him and say, "Hey, let's end this right here," and shake hands or something? No, like there was nothing that was going to be said from Pat Riley. Does he not know his history? Nothing happens out in public.
Well, I mean, it did when he went back in New York, remember?
Well, he had no choice. He had to walk across this court.
He had a choice.
Hello.
He didn't have to serenade the fans. He did that, right? And so there is a world where I think that happens. But again, I think both sides are walking away feeling like, look, I actually played nice. I could have said a lot worse stuff about things you did. Both sides have the opportunity to say that. And both sides are walking away saying, yeah, it better not say anything. Because if he does, I'll say the stuff. And it's, I'll just call it what it is. It's petty and childish.
Of course.
Like you wanted to be gone. You wanted your money. They wanted to not pay you. They fined you, did all these things. Everyone's in a quote unquote happier place. They don't have to pay you and they don't have the headache of you being a negative Nelly around. You got your money and you got a chance to win a championship with a new team. There's no point in continuing this conversation, especially because neither season is actually going swimmingly.
I think when you watch the game, and yes, like we learned during the pregame that Steph wasn't going to play, and then I was like, oh, okay, maybe the Heat have a shot here because if anybody's got your back, it's going to be Steph. He can drop 50 for you there. But I thought with Jimmy, it was pretty telling who felt like they were having the revenge game, right? Was it Jimmy? It didn't feel like it.
It was Bam and Tyler, right? Because it's funny, the guys who got traded, Jimmy Butler and Andrew Wiggins, both played. Wiggins played nervous as hell. He was all out of sorts. I was like, what's happening here? And Jimmy played like someone told him right before the game, hey man, don't try to force it.
Yeah.
And so he went polar opposite on, I'm not trying to force anything. I'll just keep up there. Okay, I'm going to swing it this way. I was waiting for him to do the ethic, give me the ball, get out of my way. We're going to win this game. I'm not going to let them walk away talking about me in this way. And instead, he played it too polite. And meanwhile, Wiggins played too nervous. But Tyler and Bam played like guys who got traded and were trying to prove a point. And they proved it really well.
Well, the Warriors defended Tyler like he was the clear head of the snake.
Yep.
Like he were going to make sure to get the ball out of his hands and see what they can do when that happens. And the first several minutes of the game was it was two teams playing hard defense, and that's all they had. Because Draymond and Jimmy were playing great defense. Bam and everybody else on that Heat floor was playing great defense, but not many people were playing great offense. But Herro was getting off the ball despite all that pressure and it was almost like a Klay Thompson game where he was just like, all right, I'll just get the ball somewhere else. And he goes and he was very efficient in his scoring. But yeah, it was very clear that Tyler and Bam were angry with Jimmy. Yes. All the stuff that they were saying at the time, they were saying all the right things. Tyler has gotten really good at saying a lot without saying anything. And last night was the most telling. If you heard after the game, I was in the locker room and somebody asked him, because he talked about the emotions, but he talks about it in generalities, right? But then when somebody asked him just straight up, did you say hello to any catching up with Jimmy Butler after the game? And he's just like, no. No, I think he went 5 no's.
Yeah.
No.
He hit the
like that wasn't going to be a thing. Like they clearly had a falling out, and who can you blame for the falling out? The people that stayed and fought, or the guy that dipped and was shooting one-legged threes? So they've been waiting to say this or have this moment, because that was going to speak for them.
This was their Super Bowl. Let's be real. All right. So the most inflammatory remark to come out of last night was Jimmy Butler calling out Heat culture. He said, quote.
That was actually that was during an interview before last night. But yes, this was the most damning thing that he said.
I think it's a little bit like overused talking about Heat culture. I think a large part of that culture is you get guys that buy into a winning mindset. Whenever you have really good players, you can name it whatever you want to name it. I mean, I don't see anything wrong. I mean, isn't that the point, is that you buy into a mindset that isn't. This is what I'd say about Miami and the Heat. It's a mindset that everyone wishes they had, but when it comes to doing the things to uphold it, a lot of teams let it go by the wayside.
That's why you always hear coaches say, man, Heat always so tough to play against. They're always so prepared. Spo's always got them. But this was Jimmy looking for his credit. Yeah. This was him saying, Heat culture. No, this was about Jimmy Butler. Yep. And in a way, I do agree with him. Heat culture is a brand. Heat culture is something that you push down the road because you say, Shaq believed in it. Probably not. Right. LeBron believed in it. Probably not. But it didn't matter if they did or didn't. Revisionist history says they won championships with it, so they bought in. And so now if Jimmy had won one of those two, then he probably would have been claiming Heat culture, obviously never would have left, and it all would have just trickled down to the next group. And now people are questioning it. That's fine. I mean, what's it going to – it doesn't really matter. You're going to bring in talent, and all of a sudden it's going to come up again.
To me, culture isn't about what happens when we're winning. Culture is about when we're not winning, are we still doing the same things? Because it's about process over results. And I know the word process has been hijacked over the last decade by Philadelphia and Jimmy and Joel Embiid and all that, but it's been something that we talked about in the NBA for decades, right? Like the idea of like, let's do it right every single time. They're like the little steps, and then we'll live with what the result is, a win or a loss, right? As opposed to winning, wait until we win, and then we turn back and look at like, oh yeah, it's because I had a purple Gatorade, right? And like that's not what it's about. And so it's easy. A lot of teams, like I remember when Monty Williams first got to Phoenix, and they were bad for most of the year, and then they won those last games in the bubble, and everyone said, "Hey, turn the culture around." I'm like, that's not how culture works. That's not at all how culture works. Culture works when like we're doing it every day, even when we're bad, even when we're sick, even when we're injured, right? Mm-hmm. Then when we get talent, and talent at some point inevitably bucks against, wait a second, what do you mean I can only do this? I can only bring this many family members. And the organization says, yeah, I know it's been different everywhere you've gone and you've gotten concessions. We don't make those concessions because we believe this to be important to our identity. And Miami, better than any other organization, maybe Oklahoma City, right, are the best, the absolute best at saying like, this is how we do it. Are you with it? If you're not with it, get out.
And it's interesting because every organization sets whatever those concessions are, sets their own standards, right? Yep. And so Warriors culture, different than Heat culture.
But it's a strong culture.
Very, very strong culture, absolutely. And when you get to the Warriors, if you come from a place as strict as Miami, you like to see, oh, wow, they let family members or friends fly every once in a while during the regular season, and then family on their own private plane during the postseason. They have a very loose atmosphere at certain times, which, by the way, comes with winning. It doesn't necessarily come with, you win first, and then you get that loose atmosphere. Right. But it also comes from your stars, right? Steph sort of has that personality as well, and your coach and Steve Kerr. And so, I don't like the idea that is the right way to do it and the Heat's is wrong. No, it's different. It's just like the Heat have a little bit more of a bunker mentality. It's us against the world, but they're still very much a family organization. Like you see kids running around, you see everybody, like they very much enjoy the family aspect. And so the idea that, Jimmy is out there talking about how the Warriors let you be you. I mean, he was saying the same damn things over here. So that now that everybody's sort of just contrasting these two organizations, it feels a little bit unfair to the Miami Heat to be on the, the shit end of the stick here when you're just like, you're comparing us to a current dynasty. But oh, by the way, not too long ago, we were the culture that everybody wanted to emulate.
That's the thing. Everyone wants to emulate it until it comes time to actually doing it. Everyone wants it until it comes to actually doing it. That's That's what I've said. It's not for everybody. It's not the only way. And that's what I think the people question it. That's what they think, that what's being said is, oh, this is the only way to do it. And any other way isn't good enough or as good. No, there are many different ways to skin a cat. It's just when it comes to doing it their way, they do it their way. They don't half-ass it and chicken their way out of it, as some other organizations might do. So that's all it comes down to. I don't want to dwell too much time here. I know there's a Kevin Love Instagram thing that was funny or whatever, but I want to move to a different story somewhere else in Milwaukee. This is an important story. Damian Lillard was announced out indefinitely with deep vein thrombosis. Now it's the second player this season who has to be sidelined with this affliction. Obviously, Victor Wembanyama was the first. We got a tweet here from Damian Lillard talking about it. It was easy for the Spurs to be like, hey, he's done. Technically, we don't know what the treatment plan and the recovery timeline is. So there's an indefinite on Damian Lillard. Could he be back for the playoffs? Maybe, maybe not. Let's assume, Izzy, that he's not back. Do you see the Bucks getting out of the first round without Damian Lillard?
It's probably a matchup thing. I would say no. I don't think the Kyle Kuzma situation has been working out very well for him. I will say this about the Damian Lillard, DVT situation. Like, him being a little bit older than Victor Wembanyama is probably less projecting us for him to have a tougher time with it and maybe not be able to come back. He's around the same age as Chris Bosh was when he was diagnosed. The thing that it's just not just heartbreaking, but it's like, man, like, not that we should have anybody, have this affliction, but the stars, like, it's coming, like Victor Wembanyama and, obviously Chris Bosh that I just mentioned and Damian Lillard. It's like, man, that is unfortunate, like, for the league, obviously for them. And hopefully, we've gotten to a place where treatments can, allow you to play in the future. But, like, if you have to be on blood thinners, like, that's just something you can't play with. It's just too harmful.
The travel is a big part of it. And for Dame, again, with all of these, I talked to Jeff Stotts, who runs a tremendous account in Street Clothes. He's the injury expert. And he said, one of the things is it depends on the location, where the clot happens. That greatly affects. So for Wembanyama, I believe it was in his shoulder. Right. And so it was easier for them versus somewhere further down. You
know where Chris Bosh's was?
Was in the calf. In the leg, in the calf. So
same as Damian.
Although on the plus side for Damian Lillard, smaller body. So it might be easier to treat than 7-foot guys like Bosh and Wembanyama. Either way, we hope Dame gets better. We hope a recovery is speedy. And again, we have examples of guys like Brandon Ingram and other players who underwent that and came back in a fine, and it's never reared its head again. So we'll keep a lookout on that. But we got to play a game of Iciest play of the week.
Welcome back to Oddball. It's time for the Iciest play of the week, where you look at a picture of me and Amin freezing while we're ice fishing. This week,
smug as ever.
What a ridiculous concept. This week's Iciest play is by Heat rookie Kel'el Ware. He went up for what seemed to be an uncontested layup, but got stripped of the ball. Lost it. So in midair, regathers the ball, and just before landing, flips it with English. Maybe he landed.
Well, did he?
But if the ball, hang on real quick. If the ball gets flipped out of your hand and you catch it and then land, still travel?
Playground rules, yes.
Okay.
Playground rules, you got to let it bounce, right? Like, there's many an argument.
All right. Well, let's just say he was still in the air, spun it off the glass, and went in, and it was the most probably impressive play of the night.
Yeah.
He finished with 14 points, 10 rebounds, his 11th double-double of the season. He's tied with Udonis Haslem, talk about Heat culture, for fourth most by a Heat rookie. Looks pretty good. And, like, there's these rookie classes just been like just a juggling mess of, like, who's going to be on the top of the rookie ladder. There are times where I say Kel'el is by far the best rookie this year.
Okay, so let me ask this question, because I was watching last night, and when the play happened, I allowed my brain to go fully into this space. Looking at him, his body type, his size, his lankiness, his head shape, his hairstyle, his face, his complexion, he looks a lot like Victor Wembanyama, yes?
He does. In fact, he had a real big game against Victor Wembanyama, and it just looked cartoonish, like these long stick figures going back and forth.
Like when I say he looks a lot like Victor Wembanyama, the goatee, the facial hair, you need to shave it off. But if he did that, I believe he could show up to a lot of places in America, like nightclubs, restaurants, and say, "Yes, I'm Victor Wembanyama," and like most people would be like, "Of course." I mean, some of it is just heuristics, right? Yeah, tall, 7'2" versus 7'4". Who knows the difference? I don't know. It looks really tall for regular people, and kind of light skin, and looks the same hair. I don't think many people would question it, but I wonder, even like basketball fans, if we put up a side by side of Wemby.
If you haven't seen him in person, you would absolutely
think it, right?
Iciest Play of the Week is presented by Jägermeister. Serve it cold or don't serve it at all. Jägermeister. Damn, that's cold. For more information, visit Jägermeister.com. Drink responsibly.
All right, it's time for another thrilling edition of Hot Streak. Hot Streak is presented by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you'll hear more about DraftKings and all it has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Now, Izzy, I don't want to jinx it.
Okay.
I got to just say this right. Last week, you picked Grizzlies +3 versus the Kings. They lost by 10. That ended our hot streak at 5-0.
5-1's a good stretch.
5-1 is a great stretch, right? If we were an NBA team, people would be like, look out for these guys. So we got to get another streak going. But you know what? I'm okay with saying we won 11 of our last 12 or something like that. So this is where it starts here. All right, so here are some of the games we can choose from. We got Lakers at Pacers. Lakers are fresh off of 2 bad losses, Orlando and Chicago. And this is with LeBron back in the lineup and Luka Doncic, right? Pacers are on a 5-game winning streak. LeBron just did McAfee show.
I was just going to say, you know how I know they're playing in Indiana? Yeah. He just did McAfee show in person.
I can't remember who asked. They were like, what if they flew him out for that? I'm like, he did not fly out for that show. He's in town and he did it.
Possibly the most entertaining thing to do in Indianapolis.
Not possibly. Been there. Possibly. Not. Definitely. 100%. So Pacers 1-point favorites, right? The next game we've got is Clippers at Knicks. Knicks are 3.5-point favorites. The Clippers are battling for that 6th seed. As we know, they almost beat the Thunder on Sunday.
Still no Jalen Brunson.
And
they're still 3.5-point favorites, huh?
And second night of a back-to-back. So for the Knicks. So there's that. The Celtics are at the Suns tonight. The Celtics 5.5-point favorites, but Tatum is doubtful with an ankle injury. Suns starting to put together something. They've won 4 in a row, Izzy.
Is it real? Like, are the Suns actually real now? Or are they locked into the play-in?
Look, their roster, they don't have roster issues. A lot of these other teams, like, oh yeah, you don't have a big, you don't have enough shooting, whatever. They've got it all. What's happened is Bradley Beal has been out, and it's not Bradley Beal's fault per se, but when you don't have all 3 of those guys, when you only got 2 of the 3, that means the other 3 guys get to be energy guys, get to be guys who supplement the other parts of the game. The other thing is that Mason Plumlee has been hurt, forcing Bud to play Oso, and Oso is really effective. Like, he should have been playing probably starting at the 5 all year long, or at least recently. He's there now, and I think him and Dunn have really given a boost to the Suns. Having said that, the Celtics don't seem to be missing any beats when Tatum doesn't play, right?
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. It looks like they're 5.5-point favorites at Phoenix without Jason Tatum, but it just speaks to how effective they've been with KP in the lineup.
Yep. And then the last one, Bucks at Nuggets. Nuggets are 9.5-point favorites. Dame is out indefinitely, obviously, because we just talked about. But Jokic has missed the last 2 weeks, and they've been up and down too. They've got good wins and bad losses in that span. So, Izzy, as we look at the landscape, what do you like? You got Lakers +1, Pacers -1, Clippers +3.5, Knicks -3.5, Celtics -5.5, Suns +5.5, or Bucks +9.5, Nuggets -9.5.
There's one game that's kind of screaming at me, and you gave me a sort of extra nugget mentioning that the Knicks are on a back-to-back.
Yeah.
And yet somehow they're favored here. The way the Clippers have been playing.
They defend.
The Clippers are not on a back-to-back, which means Kawhi Leonard will be playing. And they're, getting a 3.5-point cushion. I like the Clippers.
I like the Clippers too. I'm really interested in Zubac. Has impressed me tremendously over the last, since the All-Star break. He's been phenomenal. Now he gets to go up against 2 bona fide bigs. He did it against Cleveland a few nights ago against Allen and Mobley, and he had his way with them. I want to see against Mitchell Robinson and Karl Anthony Towns. Can he have the same amount of success? I'm with you. I like Clippers +3.5.
All right. That seems like the way to go. The Knicks have not been great at home all season either. A little bit up and down. So what? thought those were fake eyebrows.
I want to say
Goodbye.
hello.